I so seldom use black, you know, that I don't have much of it. And actually, I really don't use it. And I had to figure out where it was hiding. Okay, you can see it's like a brand new tube from the original set. So let's take a bit of black. Before I found Payne's Gray, I was mixing a blue like this. And let's say you had a set and it came with like a Prussian blue or a phthalo blue, a dark blue. Then you can experiment with how much of each color you want to get to a navy. So there's a little bit of that's too blue. Let's add more black. That's closer. Can add a bit of white. Yeah, now it looks pretty close to that. So that's how you can make a Payne's Gray. It's just two colors, well, unless you're going to add white. Okay? Or indigo. I call them, you know, indigo, Payne's Gray, navy. It's a bit darker than a navy though. And let's talk about how to make coral. Something bled through there. Coral is, like I said, a color that I buy, but if you don't have it and you want to make it, you're going to get a magenta of some kind, or, you know, let's see, you could use a quinacridone magenta, a quinacridone red, or just a plain magenta. So here's like a primary magenta. We'll use this one. And then some cadmium red. Let's try, let's see. Let's do, or, you know, experiment with your reds. Some reds will work and some reds might not. This is a cadmium red light. It's a little more on the orangey side. Let's see what that does. Because sometimes there's a cad red, sometimes it can be just dark and dreary and take it too much in that direction. Let me wash out this brush and make sure it's nice and clean. If you have a red like this that's also going to be in the bundle, the naphtha crimson, that will also produce a nice coral. All right, so, and of course we're going to have white, so let me get some white out. All right, so I'm going to grab a bit of this magenta and some of this cad red. And this is just mixing till you get, you know, the right level of coral that you want. A little more white. That's a darker coral, maybe a lighter coral. There you go. And I'll show you how that compares to the tube coral. At least this one by Turner. I think it's got a bit more white in it. Yeah. So it's definitely lighter than this one. But you could get there just adding some more white. So that's coral. Off-white. All right. Ivory, off-white, all of that stuff. That one is interesting. You mix that by a little bit of the three primary colors. Now there's so many shades of ivory that you could make something that's a variation. It's a neutral, you know. Oh, I don't want that brush. It's got some Payne's Gray in it. Let's get this nice clean brush. We're going to use white, of course, and then we're going to use a tiny bit of red. Let's put some there. Tiny bit of blue. Got a tiny bit of each on my color and on my brush. It's gonna look. It's got red and blue, and then a tiny bit of yellow. Got all three there, and it's gonna be too much. This is what happens why I buy ivory, because it's so hard to just get a tiny bit. So then you end up mixing more and more, because I clearly got way too much blue. So, see, I'm showing you exactly why I buy ivory, although that's a really pretty color, isn't it? That's what's fun about color discovery. So now I've added some yellow and went too far on the yellow. See why I do it? Another pretty color though. You could discover a lot of pretty colors on the way. Let's add a tiny bit of red without overdoing it, and lots of white. And we're finally getting an ivory. There it is. So you see that it's white with teeny tiny bit of the three primary colors to get a nice ivory. And then to compare it with that whole vein ivory, I'll just show it to you. Clean out this brush. It's not clean yet, and with ivory we do need it clean, so I'm going to get a different brush just so I can show you the color accurately. There's our whole vein ivory. I like this ivory just fine that we made. It's just that, you know, by the time you get there, anyway, you can certainly make it. So the last color that I will show you how to mix, if you don't, that's one of my favorites, that if you don't want to buy it, is a lime green, also called by Turner fresh green. This one is the Japanese line colors of Turner called J light green. Turner's version is yellow green, but this is too green, so I always add a little bit of Hansa yellow to it, or a lemon yellow. But you can get a lime green by actually mixing the same colors we mixed to get the turquoise, but we're going to go in the other direction, the direction I started out in, which is just more yellow and less blue. So that might even work with what we have right here from earlier. Yep, there it is. So you're just doing the lemony yellow again. Don't go with a yellow, a dark gold. I'll show you. So is this a very dark gold? I want to kind of demonstrate. Well, this is a warmer yellow, but if you take the warmer yellow, you'll get a nice green. It's just not that lime green that I'm trying to show you. So I just want to show you what happens. So this is not a super warm yellow, but it is warmer. And let's get our tiny bit of blue. That should be enough. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's a pretty green. It's definitely in the lime. It's just a little more subdued is all. So you can play with that. If you can change your lime green from a cooler lime green to a warmer one by the yellow that you use. Whether you use a light lemon, they're called lemon, or Hansa, or light sometimes, to a warm, like here's a, okay, I'll show you an example of a warmer yellow that's going to be in the bundle. This is the CAD yellow medium. And so let's mix that up. Got some of that. See, that's much warmer. We get some of the blue, and we get limey, but almost olivey too. So those are the ranges. You can see, I hope you can tell how that's a cooler lime yellow and a warmer one. And you can play with that, the color in there. Okay, so that's how to either buy or, you know, identify or mix some of my favorite colors. You'll have your own favorite colors, and that becomes part of your color signature in your work. Sometimes I think that color is the only thing that is unifying my work, because the styles, you know, I change it. I like to just do all kinds of different work, but I do have my favorite colors. So over time, you know, it's fun to play with that and develop that. And I'm looking at this going, isn't that a pretty little palette? So anyway, enjoy and play. That's the most important advice when it comes to color.